915% ROI. That means I made $9.50 for every dollar I spent. Ideally, we want to be above 200.
I mean, you can use ChatGPT, and you got to build the prompt. You got to control, what ChatGPT is doing. But you can have ChatGPT draft up the emails, and you can tell it what to, I want you to use, do it the way Ernest Hemingway would, or, whoever you want.
Dedicated person who takes on the initial call and follows up and signs up, same person. That's key. Okay. You take whoever is the best right now, and that becomes their only job.
Welcome to my legal academy, helping lawyers work smart, scale fast, and enjoy life.
Something I've been thinking about, actually, I had one interesting thing I wanted to share is that I actually recently hired a consultant. I should be a secret shopper for my firm and to come in and actually test out our intake, test out our consultations, create a memo or report, what we're doing, what we can improve. And he's a lawyer now turned into like a legal tech guy. He has his own tech product. So, he's now working on it this week. So we'll see what I get from it. But yeah, otherwise, I just thought I'd share that. It was kind of interesting. And if he's helpful, I'll share him with the team so other people may find him helpful.
Nice. Obviously, everything takes time.
Right.
How long has it been, Pankaj?
Oh, I mean, I just hired him 2 days ago. So now he's done the secret shopper kind of exercise with the firm and tested that out. And now he's actually interviewing each person on my staff to better understand what they do and make sure they're clear on what their jobs are. And then clarifying, okay, where can we improve based on, who we have right now and who we might need.
Great. So the first one is tracking. How are you tracking what people are doing?
So we have a quarterly offsite. Every quarter we shut down for a day and talk about how we've done and what we need to do better for next quarter. We look back at the last quarter and say, okay, how many leads do we get? We also have a weekly tracking chart. Like my office manager tracks number of leads that converted into possible consultations, how many of those consultations turn into clients. So we have a weekly tracking chart as well as we go over it quarterly, tracking a variety of metrics. One thing we're not doing a good job of, though, that you mentioned is just the cost for some of these conversions, what's our cost per new acquisition and things like that. I haven't gotten as good of a grasp of that yet.
Okay, we'll get there. Client sources breakdown.
CRM, we use Zoho, and we've invested significantly in building out Zoho. I mean, pretty cool. It's a lot of, quite a few automations built in. There's also a lot of challenges with Zoho. So, there's good and the bad, but right now it's pretty cool. Just, we can click buttons and emails go out, text messages go out, convert them into opportunities. The problem is when they're in opportunities, I need to have someone making sure that we're following up on those opportunities every day, and also realizing to have less time between the consultation and the closing. Because right now the bottleneck is it takes time for us to quote their project because we try to offer flat fees, but that's a big bottleneck for us.
What would you love to track?
We have information kind of, but I guess just better insight into time it takes from lead to conversion, lead to opportunity to client.
So this one, the high level thing that we're building is going to solve that one.
Right. Leads and then turning them into meetings. Right now, just a little technical challenges that we use Acuity still because I built it out so much. But Acuity, Zoho has his own booking system, so having them talk to each other is sometimes challenging. Because I love to have it if someone books a meeting, then they turn automatically into an opportunity, and that once they're an opportunity, that means they're there's a high chance that they're going to become a client, but we need to make sure that we close them. So that's the steps that we have, and then we have different stages within opportunities.
Mike Smith, can you hear high level hardcore solving that problem? Yeah, that's a high level.
Yeah.
Deal pipelines all the way.
We have the pipelines. We have the deal pipelines. The problem is that it's just moving them along. Right now, I think maybe we're missing a person on the team just to take ownership and make sure that, I told my office manager, she needs to be following up with people, but I don't think the CRM is clear enough to where she knows, okay, who do we need to follow up with and what do we need to tell them? Because maybe she just doesn't have that insight.
Why is the office manager doing that?
Why is the office manager doing that? Because we have so many people that I have the consults, but then I'd like to have someone else do the automatic follow-ups or do the follow-ups.
No.
Sam, if you don't mind, I would determine your follow-up schedule. So if somebody needs a follow up the next day, and then you can create an automation that adds a task for whatever person in your staff is going to do the follow up the next day with a due date the next day. Then nobody has to go pull out a list of all the people that need to be called or dig through the pipeline to find it. There's an automated task, and you can do that a million different ways. You could certainly do that with GHL. You could do that with Zapier. You may be able to do that in Zoho. I don't know. But an automatic task just drops onto that person's task list in the morning and says, call Bob Jones, and it has his phone number, and they check that task off when it's complete, and then it's done.
No, that's a good point. And I think and that's easy to do actually in a workflow. It's a workflow in Zoho. I could even build on myself. Like
most automation tools have a goal that you can set at the bottom. So if you think about ActiveCampaign, it has a goal at the bottom. So you could say the goal is schedule an appointment. It looks, to see if that appointment's been scheduled in Acuity scheduling. If it has, then it stops the campaign, if you will, the workflow, the pipeline, whatever you want to call it. But you basically are going to have a follow-up task every day until, that person schedules, or they say, leave me alone, I don't want to hear from you anymore.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because I was exploring automatic emails, but I didn't like them because they're too impersonal. And but I think having just the office manager just make sure she's reaching out through a task probably is a good solution.
I hear you about the emails, but that's not the case anymore. You can use ChatGPT, and you got to build the prompt. You got to control, what ChatGPT is doing, but you can have ChatGPT draft up the emails, and you can tell it what to, I want you to use, do it the way Ernest Hemingway would, or, whoever you want.
Right.
It'll replicate that tone. So, you can really get around that. You can personalize email messages with information about the client that's drawn out of your CRM system, using their, you can do email. It just you got to think about it. You got to put some time into it, but email work. I think phone calls are probably going to be more effective though in closing the leads.
That's a good point. No, I think so. And she has time for that now because we hired another receptionist intake person. So some of the stuff is taken off her plate. So she'll have time to do that. Yeah.
I think once you set up this go high level where you think it's going to solve all this problem. Getting clear on that. But I'm hearing also some red flags with the office manager. Why is the office manager doing this? You should have a dedicated person does the initial calls and the follow-ups, the same person, not a different person. There's no connection, just a follow-up. That's not going to work at all. Dedicated person who takes on the initial call and follows up and signs up, same person. That's key. So you take whoever is the best right now, and that becomes their only job.
So
their name shouldn't be office manager, intake manager.
Right. So they're responsible for the whole,
and ideally not just one person, two people. So that's too much of a dependency. So you may need to go hire 2 dedicated intakers just for this, along with the high level that we'll set up that will automatically send the texts and emails. What the emails and texts say doesn't matter nearly as much as the fact that you do send a text and email. I used to get stuck on what I'm going to say and realize it just doesn't matter. You just want to be top of mind. Say, hey, I'm still here. You still need me. For that, we actually, over time, we realized less personal, not less personalization, but shorter, straight to the point. Hey, what's going on? Just want, do you have any questions, etc.
So we have some of this set up. We have automatic texts go out and emails for booking. Acuity has all the emails that go out for scheduling. But I think because I have a receptionist who does the initial lead, and then we vet them, and then ideally sets up a meeting with a consultation with me or my associate, usually ideally my associate. And then if they're good, we want to make sure that we send the engagement and get them engaged very quickly. One thing with this, it's cool in Zoho is that now we've built out a mail merge sequence where it takes just the information from their CRM, all the data, turns it into engagement in one click. We review it. It takes 5 minutes to review and goes out. So that's the nice thing about it. It has a very quick process for sending out engagements. And then we just press a button to send out the retainer request.
Your role right now, at least for this month, is go hire this dedicated intaker.
Okay.
I doubt you could just take an existing person and turn them into that, unless if you're going to, eliminate all other tasks they're doing.
I think my office manager ideally, but I don't think she's really the best. She's decent, but I don't know. I could I don't know if she's a dedicated intaker. So just have someone who can do the whole process. Okay.
Yeah. Sales background. That's all they do. Initial call, follow up, sign up.
Okay.
The second one is, in order for this to pan out, you need a manager, not you. I have a new kind of thing for us called CEO's role, like what we're supposed to do. And if it didn't have a Q&A today, I would share it. But that goes into anything outside these three things we should not be doing. So including this. For this, it's a VA whose job is to just check in and make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I feel like also, what I remember when we last talked is, I feel like you have people that do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like hybrid roles.
Right.
You need to separate it out and have very clear, it's module 2 worksheet. If you want, just go print out module 2. I'll just page 2 of this worksheet.
Mm-hmm.
Defined position, title.
Able to market our services.
The defined, let me just quickly show it. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Define position, title, define 3 specific tasks that they do, define the number 1 goal that they have, and then just one thing that they have to do, and then here's your incentive for that one goal. So print out this and kind of define these roles and hire that 1 or 2 more intakers until we get the right tool.
So intakers, because like I know right now you're saying, even consultations, because right now my associate does like some of the consultations as well. Do you not recommend that? Because like I'm trying to get
if the associate only does that essentially. But you don't need an associate to do that.
Right, yeah.
But we have Chad who's signing up criminal defense clients. We have Michael Ashuri is about to have a call. Bridget will make the announcement. Who's signing up, dozens of clients per day with intakers. And these are immigration cases. So no, it doesn't, non-attorney.
Okay.
Let me quickly also address the client sources breakdown. This is as simple as a Google Sheet, Pankaj, which is basically all your sources. So that means you have your, on top, these are just say the columns. So just say you have Google Ads. I know you also do Yelp. I know you also do SEO.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Then it's your monthly cost. So Google Ads, about 3K. This 1K, which I remember last time we talked about that. This is 2K.
Yeah, that's fine.
Then clients, then cost per acquisition, then value, then ROI. My Google Sheet. This is shared in a marketing tracking template. This one, if you go to right here, my client sources, the 5th one. The cost, number of leads. If you want to get granular, you can. Leads, cost per lead, which is kind of equation, which is B2. Gives you this.
Yeah, that shouldn't be hard to do. Yeah.
Number of clients from each source. If you don't know what that is, well, red flag. During the intake, during the onboarding, which you get clarity for each client to one source. Do your best. It's not going to be crystal clear, but doing your best. And then that will give you for each source your cost per acquisition. And then from that, you can actually get even fancy. You could do format, conditional formatting, color scale, and I could say minimum number is very good. So I want to make that to be green, and a high number is bad. Oh shoot. Facebook ads and LinkedIn ads, I could clearly see it's a much higher cost acquisition. I'm gonna cut that out, take that money, dump it into Google LSA and Google Ads. Get clear on that.
Yeah.
A lot of times I think people find that you're stuck. You should never be stuck at the same budget month after month. It's never the thing. It's either, again, binary question. Should I cut this out or should I double it? That way it kind of forces you to kind of spend more money on things that are working, cut out stuff that doesn't. Constantly do that month after month. Now you're like not spreading yourself too thin, your budget across multiple 5 different things. Instead, you're putting all 80% of that money into the top one. And now all of a sudden your ROI shoots through the roof. You have a 600% ROI versus a 200% ROI when your budget was diversified across different things. So do that on a monthly basis. Have clarity on this.
Okay. That's a good one. Yeah, I know. I definitely need to track these. We have some, but I think the cost of all these, I don't think I have top of hand. So I need to figure out.
Just start off with this, just literally this sheet. Start off with this. Every month, try to get that down. Regarding Patty asked a good question. What's the typical closing rate from Google LSA and phone calls?
Hey, hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you're a lawyer and you're looking to work smart, scale fast, and enjoy life, right below this video, you'll find a link to book a call to speak to my team so we can tell you how we've been able to help over 500 law firm owners scale their law firm. Now back to the video.
Good, let me just address this quickly. So yeah, there's different traffic sources. There's Google Ads, there's Google LSA, there's Facebook ads, there's SEO, there's YouTube, etc. They all have different closing rates or conversion rates. Usually the ones that have higher intent, it's more likely to be signed up. So for this, usually it's like 15 to 20%. Cool. If you're like way below this 15 to 20%, something is off with your system. Your CRM, your intakers, you're not tracking them, you're not following up, you're not sending texts, and multiple reasons requires its own conversation. Google LSA, more or less about 15 to 20%, ballpark. Facebook ads, it's a much lower intent because they're not searching for you, you're interrupting them. So usually like 5 to 8%. My own stuff right now is like 5%. With 5%, doing incredibly well with a 5% conversion rate. That means 95% of leads, I don't sign up, just qualify them. As long as my team's signing up 5%, I'm happy, everyone's happy, everyone's doing well, doing really well. SEO, I think goes. It's kind of hard to track. It's a little bit hard to track, but just assume like about 10 to 15%-ish. Makes sense. YouTube, much higher because they've been nurtured. They know you. And people, they get YouTube leads, know. Like these are very likely to sign up. At that point, you already built a trust with them. How do we know where the client is coming from? Good question. For each source, you need to ask yourself, am I getting the leads? So just for Google Ads, there's contact form submissions, just basically the name, email, phone number, whatever. And then there's phone calls. Well, I need to somehow, every time one of these things happen, I need to go somewhere, either into my CRM or into my Google Sheet. What I do as a rule of thumb is every time anything happens, it goes into Google Sheet, no matter what. That's like no matter if I lose my data or somewhere else, CRM, whatever, I can always go to the source and see what that is. So every time this comes in, let's just say the lead comes in on a ClickFunnels landing page, it's automatically added to a Google Sheet. So that way I could go look at the date in March, how many of these did we get? And then phone call, ideally call rail for phone tracking. You say, hey, this is the source of this is Google Ads. You get a dedicated phone number from CallRail or just for Google Ads. That way you could go into CallRail at the end of the month, looking at it daily or weekly on a monthly basis. You could say, okay, we got 160 calls. So that means I got 280 leads from Google Ads. I spent about 5K, so 280 leads. 5,000 divided by 280. Cost per lead of $18. Decimals don't matter. And then also got 15 clients from this. So 5,000 divided by 15 clients is 133 calls per acquisition. Well, these 15 clients, let's just say on average, are $3,500 for me. 15 times 3,500. So the value is, so our revenue is this much. So if that's the case, I'm gonna do a quick little ROI math. ROI is basically the revenue minus the cost divided by the cost times 100. Okay, so just to revenue, how much money you made minus how much it costs you divided by how much it costs you times 100. So let's just for this, it's 52,500 minus 5,000 divided by 5,000. So 52,500 minus 5,000. This is how much quote unquote profit I made divided by what the cost was. 5,000 times 100 gives you a percentage, 915% ROI. That means I made $9.50 for every dollar I spent. This is very good. Ideally, we want to be above 200. This is above 200. If this number is above 200%, then spend more. It's as easy as that. At the end of the month, I just have 30 on each source. From across all the law firms, each source, I know this to the dollar. That way I know, okay, it's very profitable. Let's go spend $10,000. April happens and spend $10,000. Okay, my cost of acquisition went up to $400, but my ROI is $850, 850%. Still pretty good. Okay, let's see what happens if we spend $15,000. And I keep doing that until it doesn't make sense. And usually it always makes sense. Your marketing and stuff is down. And again, as long as you're kind of planned backwards, that I'm willing to spend up to this much. I don't get shaking out by what's my cost per lead, what happens in my first month. I'm kind of patient in the first 3 months until all these things kind of pan out. How long to run LSAs before you know they're working? Usually, like for Google Ads and Google LSA, usually like conservative is 3 months, but sometimes you should have clarity by 2 or 3 months, basically. First month, just try to break even. It's completely okay to lose money in your first month. Why? Because Google doesn't know you. So you don't have, if anybody wants to know, you don't have a quality score because you haven't built up trust. Because imagine anybody who just come and say, hey, show my ads. All of a sudden, there could be Joe, who's a scammer, who's going to come and show their ads. And now all their clients that sign up through their program is going to be scammed. So now all of a sudden Google Ads will become a bad product. So Google doesn't want that. So that means you have to build trust with it. So that means in the beginning, the cost per lead and cost acquisition is very high in the first month or two until you build up that quality score and that trust.